Hello everybody and welcome back. I have not done a commentary in quite a long time. However, people seem to have enjoyed my G29 review that I did a few years ago. So I thought I'd just run through for people who are kind of stuck in the same situation as me, whereas they're not sure do they want to do sim racing, how much money they need to invest in it. And I'm just going to go through my story because I have here a G29 or it's actually a G920, and I've had it for about a year. I've done approximately 500 hours on it, a couple of endurance races, a couple of leagues, mainly on Assetto Corsa Competizione, some on Race Room, but mainly Assetto Corsa. And I wasn't sure what to do, what to upgrade to. I've been looking at Thrustmaster, Fanatec belt driven, and then the direct drive. But guess what arrived? So yeah, we have ourselves a DD1 kit with the Club Sport Formula V2 wheel and the V3 Club Sport pedal. So this is not going to be a proper review. I just want to talk to people to see basically €200 kit, what to expect, if you can expect anything from it, versus a €2,000 kit. So what I'm going to do, just going to explain the video if someone wants to skip it or go more to the end to see my results. I want to talk briefly about what I've had to do to this kit to get it to a stage where I find it's usable for more than 30 minutes. We're going to do a quick session on Spa because we're just after doing two 12-hour races on it, so I know it quite well with this wheel. We're going to take the basic setup, go out there and aggressive, and just see 3 warm-up laps, 10 laps, see our average and our best. We're then going to fit this kit, go back here and do the same again, 3 warm-up laps and 10 race laps, and see our fastest and our average and see how it actually compares. Does another kit make it better, or is it all down to track knowledge or all in your head? So I personally want to see the results. Is it worth spending all that extra money on a direct drive kit versus something like this, which costs a fraction of the price, very easy to pick up, and anyone could basically do it? So first of all, I'll just show you the rig. So I made this stainless steel setup for me, and a kind of a budget chair. This is the chair here. So the chair itself really helped comfort-wise. I was using like a normal office chair, and the difficulty I found was when I pushed the brake pedal, I used to slide on the chair. So I made this up first without this section on it, just to seat pedals with this clamped to here, and it worked out fine. But when I knew about a month ago I was gonna get a direct drive kit, I made this frame so I can add the direct drive to this. It also comes with these, well, not comes, but I made it with these little wheels, which means that when I'm not using it and I want to play a different kind of game or something on the desk, I wheel this off and I put it in a spare room where it's out of the way. So it's quite convenient for me, and it doesn't take up this big load of room. So now, before I bore you, I'm just going to quickly talk about this G920. So let's have a sit down and I'll just go through a few bits. So sit position, quite nice. One thing you'll see straight away, which actually it does annoy me a little bit about this wheel, actually the camera is on this end of the phone, so let's go here, is that as you can see it blocks my dash. So I was contemplating actually cutting off these two here just so I could see the dash. So I'm hoping that the new setup will be able to fix that. I could raise this up more like this, but it doesn't feel right in the car. The position isn't correct, so I prefer having this down quite low, and this about here. I can usually see a little bit of that rev counter. So yeah, that was one thing that kind of annoyed me. Two, I obviously covered the light up here because at night time during night races, that gets very annoying. It's very bright. Now, power-wise, this is good, but same like the previous, the G25, there were problems with it overheating after about 30 minutes. So what I do is, and I've done this to a few for friends as well, I just buy these little fans. They're like a $5 on eBay, probably come from China somewhere. So I got a few of these, and these are actually in the housing. There's one here, and there's one here. And what they do is they just blow air over the motors. There's a motor here and a motor here. Actually, it might be easier if I do it on top. Up we get up. Yeah, so we have a fan here, blowing over the motors. Behind here, I actually cut out the vents and I drilled some holes in the back just for exhaust, because these aren't actually open. So this sucks in air and it gets exhausted through, can you see those holes there? So that basically pumps out all the hot air and it never overheats. So we can have 12-hour races, no problem. So that was one thing I had to fix. The other thing are the pedals. So quality wise, I really like the pedals. They feel nice. I race with socks. The angle I have here suits me, so I'm pretty happy. I did swap over the spring from the clutch into the accelerator. It's a bit harder, so I've more resistance here. It feels better to me. And on this G29 set of wheels, they have a different design brake pedal. So they have a spring, which actually looks like so, but it's not quite as heavy. And behind that, there's like a rubber or polyurethane bush. And you push on that to kind of simulate a real brake pedal, but I didn't like it. So what I did was I took one of these springs and I actually cut it to about here. And this slides perfectly into the original spring. So I have double springs for the last maybe 25%. So when I'm pushing the pedal, this is on the normal spring. And when I get to here, that there is on the double spring. Now, disadvantage, it makes some noise because they are wound in the same direction, so they bind. For me, that's not a problem. I have a headset, but for other people in the house, it can be a little bit an issue. But it makes it feel a bit better. So my main difficulty is modulating on the brake pedal. Trying to consistently find that area of braking in corners. That's where I'm having difficulty with this kit. The steering wheel I find is really good. The buttons are nice. The shift paddles, really nice. I like the click, no problems. I'm actually really impressed with the quality of it, considering how much abuse it's gotten. It is a bit weak, but I have noticed Assetto Corsa Competizione is lighter, and I'm wondering, is the direct drive going to improve that, or is it just the way it's designed with this wheel where the motors just aren't strong enough? There are mods to increase the strength of it, but I didn't like it. It didn't feel linear. It just felt like someone just added weight to the wheel instead of adding more of a range on the force feedback. So they're the two things I had to do with it to get it to a stage where I can be competitive in races and kind of keep up with the Pro-Ams. I'm probably still half a second slower, and based on videos, it seems to be down to the brake pedal. So we'll see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw on here some Spa. If we go into our setup, we're just going to be fair as possible. Same settings. We're just going to pick the aggressive setup. I'm not going to change anything. We're just going to go out and drive with this. We're going to do 3 warm-up laps. And then we're going to do 10 timed laps. So we'll see how that compares when we swap it over. After this, we'll do one. Well, I'm going to show the fastest lap. I'm going to record it and put that up here. You can see what I'm doing. We're then going to do an unboxing of these goodies here that are behind me. And then we're going to take them over to the table here on the left-hand side. We're going to do a very quick unboxing. It's not going to be a proper unboxing video. It's just they've been sitting here. I've been dying to open them. So we're going to go through it together. I'm going to give my comments on what I think about the build quality. We're then going to mount it to this and do the same process again. We're going to do 3 warm-up laps, 10 laps, and see if our times improve. So bear with me. I'll get you guys set up here to beside me, and we'll do some laps. Okay, session complete. Our fastest lap was a 1:21.8 and our average was a 1:22.4. So consistent. After 3 laps when the tires got warm, our laps were roughly 1:22.4, 1:22.5. And then once we got going near the end, we got a 1:21.8. There are better laps out there to be got. You can probably cut 2 seconds off with a proper setup. But for these purposes, we're taking a default setup, no tire wear, and no fuel usage. So just try and be a bit consistent. So feedback. Pedals first. Pedals are good. However, I am struggling with the brake pedal, mainly when we're coming off and trying to trail brake into a corner. So what I think is happening is I'm pushing down as hard as I want into the braking zone. I'm then coming off the pedal and I can't consistently get this part of the pedal right. So to my foot, my muscle, this here all feels the same to me. So I can't tell. My muscle memory can't say if this and this and this is different, and that's what's causing the issue for me. I end up listening to the ABS and to the tire squeal to adjust my braking. Now, in a corner, that is taking me a split second to do, but that's probably losing me, half a car length, or it's causing me to miss the apex just by a fraction. But it adds up, especially over a spa, over 3 or 4 of those big heavy braking corners. I'm probably losing about half a second, and that leads on then to going deep, and then you end up using a second on certain laps. So that's what I'm struggling with the brake pedal. On the wheelbase itself, look, there's 2 fairly small motors in it. I'm not getting the feedback I would like. I do find I'm looking for a visual input when the car is oversteering to compensate, because in certain corners, especially the last chicane, the wheel goes so light throughout that entire section, it's very hard to feel what's happening. You end up looking at the screen and seeing the car rotate on the screen before you can do any inputs. So I think that's what's wrong with the wheel. I'm interested to see, does the DD1 give me some more feedback in terms of rumple strips, road condition, the bumps in the road, even the likes of when the ABS comes on. So I'm getting none of that through this wheel. I'm just getting, a bit of feedback as the car loads up, as the tires load up, but I'm not getting any of the surfaces, even though I have everything maxed up in the settings. So look, we're going to go over now and unbox the Fanatec kit, see what the quality is like, and then we'll get it fitted and do the same thing again. Okay, now for the unboxing. So this is the box I'm actually most looking forward to opening. This is the Formula V2 wheel. So let's have a look. Box within a box. Actually, I do find it interesting that they send it out with Fanatec and what's on it on the packaging box. So like, it's very easy for someone just to nick, even though inside it has its own separate box, which is beating me. Here we go over there. So here's the front. Really looking forward to using this. Side. Quick start guide, extra buttons, and the important bit down there as well. Well packaged, and it's actually quite heavy. I wasn't expecting that. I'm not in there. So here it is. That is quite sexy. Buttons feel good, and they actually feel very similar to the G920. Nice click. It's actually very light. The paddle shifts. Now this is one thing I couldn't see on the internet, is if you don't get the other paddle shifts that came with this, these are the other paddles you get. So it looks like a separate micro switch section that goes on the back here. Feels good, like that. knobs, pretty decent indentation on it. These are joysticks. Yeah, feels good. And then the quick release, so for taking it on and off the wheel. So yeah, that's pretty nice. I'll leave that one there because part of the deal was the Podium advanced paddle module. So I got this in the bundle. That down there as well. Oh, this one has a sticker on it. Blah de blah. Oh, that's interesting. So we've got different. These are carbon fiber. I wasn't sure whether these are aluminium or stainless, but they went with carbon fiber. So I'm not sure if they're extra or if I need to build this. Okay, some small screws and some looks like greaseproof paper. So interesting. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. So this is on it. That's feels like aluminium, and the whole unit looks like it's billet aluminium as well, which is quite nice. And these obviously take these paddles here, but I'm not quite sure. Oh, there we go. Okay, have I got that? Oh, there we go. So it goes in this orientation, like this here. So they feel far more, much harder to pull. Now maybe that's because the paddles aren't on it, but yeah, look, I wouldn't have got it. It came in part of the kit, so we got them. Put this underneath, as well as the wheel. Actually, I'm going to leave the wheel over there. And we'll put these underneath and get to the important one, which is the heavy one. Oh, this one. So the actual DD1 base. First off, the box is huge. I mean, this box is bigger than the G920 box with the pedals combined. So I hope it's not going to be too big for my rig. But let's get it opened and see what it looks like. Try not to scratch anything, but I imagine it's going to be like the other ones, a box within a box. I don't know if you can actually see what I'm doing here, but I'm going to put this on the ground for a second. Oh, that's heavy. Oh, there we go. Now just make sure you can actually see that box. Excellent. Right, pretty neat. Unlock. And another one. Get that out of the way. Oh, I see. It comes up like this. Like this? Nope. There we go. Oh, wow. Some decent packaging in there. That is an awful lot bigger than I was anticipating. And an awful lot heavier. Wow. That's heavy, actually. How much does it say that is in the box? 13 kilograms is what this, 15 with all the packaging and 13 for this. That is heavy, and an awful lot more chunky. You wonder, makes sense why it costs so much. This is the mounting. We're going to mount it via these 5 screws onto the rig. A few complications I think we'll have to overcome with that, but we'll come to that in a bit. And then the connections for the back, so that is substantial. Oh. And then we just have some cables, more cables, and a power pack. Okay, so that's probably about 1 kilo, I'd say. So yeah, just a Fanatec adapter power pack. Pretty straightforward. Nice. Right. Let's put that back in there. On the ground it goes. With its goodies. We can probably leave that over there because it's quite heavy. And what I think is actually going to be the biggest improvement in the racing is this monstrous box right here. So let me open this one up. Again, it's probably going to be a box within a box. So actually I'm going to put it down at my legs here. Slice away. This poor guy has been butchered. Right. I can't get my fingers in there. Oh. So I'm really looking forward to using these guys. Because I think this is going to be the biggest improvement. But one thing I will point out is I think I'm going to be using this layout and not this layout, because I already have my pedals kind of tilted like this anyway in the rig. So I think this is going to add too much, but we'll see. I also think these ones look cooler. So let's unbox this. Hold on a minute. I didn't notice this on the other ones, but check this out. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is about $2,000. Is that little extra? Oh, little extra what? Oh, is that little extra? Okay, cool. Guide, we'll probably look at them later. Right, let me put this down here and I'll take them out and put them on the table. So, cables, screws, a bit of grease in there as well. Then there, this guy can go over there. Now, the last bag was actually quite hard to open, so let's see. Cheat. I don't think I'm going to be using these bags again, so that was very easy. Oh, these are actually some upgrade when you look at it. So underneath there's a little junction box here, which is taking the input, which is nice, easy to change or replace if you need to. And there's the pedals. So, a little bit different configuration to the G29 pedals, so we might put them side by side later and we just have a look. I do see an issue straight away that these are a different size. They're probably not going to fit in the rig I have. I'll have to modify it. But nice finish. That's very light, but you'd expect that. Clutch, stiffer and different. It's not linear at all. It's kind of, you really got to push it and it then flows and then just kind of hits a stop. That's nice. And the brake pedal is the one I'm looking forward to. So I know it's up my foot, but yeah, it's not necessarily like a real brake pedal. There's an awful lot of flow of travel in it. But when it gets to the end, that's where I'm more interested on how hard we can push. And we might have to, I know they do kits for upgrading these to get different feelings, which I didn't buy. We'll see how far we get. But that's what we're looking at. Nice construction. Quite complex on the back here. They've got three different designs for the accelerator, brake and the clutch. So that's pretty much all I'm going to do for the unboxing. Pretty quick. It's more of a case of, open it with me. So there's that, and the wheel. There we go. So now let's move back over to the rig, compare the two, see what changes need to be made. But before I do that, I gotta go up to the attic. Okay, so something I missed first time around was on the box for the steering wheel. It says, "I'm an artist, the track is my canvas, and the car is my brush." So I completely breezed over that in my excitement earlier. So I didn't want you to miss out, so I went through it again. See you later. Okay, so here's the two pedals. The quality of the Fanatec stuff is just miles ahead. It's beautiful. It looks much nicer. I mean, these are good and these were impressive, but you're going from plastic to aluminium and how it feels. One thing I have noticed, it's a little bit shorter. So I think I'm going to have to modify my rig, because when I come in here and drop them in, they're so much shorter, there's nothing there. So I'm either going to redo the stainless steel, or more than likely I'll put a piece of timber perhaps underneath, because these are a little bit higher as well. Sit down and see how it feels. So that's one thing to modify. There's another thing I noticed that might be an issue, which is going to be with the direct drive unit. So give me a second, I'm going to go over and get it. We'll sit it on and I'll show you my issue. So this is the direct drive unit, and it's chunkier than I thought, but it's not quite as long. It actually fits quite nicely. I need to put the wheel on because I think I need this back here, about there. But what is happening is this is going to catch on my desk, because this is actually at an incline, so it slides underneath. So what we're going to have to do is make a little plate just to bring this up here about 10 mil, enough so that when I push in the frame like this, then it doesn't get caught on anything. So let's go out and do that and put some timber on the bottom and get that all screwed up and see how we go. Okay, so let's start with the easy thing first, which is going to be the pedals. So what I have is this sheet of 3mm stainless. So this will fit nicely in here once we cut it down and do a few folds to it. So the idea is, leave it there. The idea is to cut this down to size so it fits between the rail. So it'll be something like so. We'll put folds on it like this for strength purposes. This is going to be the top, or where your feet will go. We then need to put some holes here, 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 and here to mount it to the frame. Then a series of holes like this to hold the pedals. So these are going to be drilled and tapped to M8. So this will allow us to use different mounting positions for the pedals, so we can move them up, we can move them back. And then just a few holes here and there for cable management purposes. So we have got to turn this into this. So it's been cut to size, we've got the edges folded, we have our holes here which do the pedal mounting positions. As you see, we have 4 different adjustments. We've got our mounting holes, and these other holes are all for accessories. Power pack will go here, cable management and things like that. So this will go in here, and we'll bring you a little bit closer so you can get a better view of that. There we go. So fits in quite nicely. We've got a gap all around here for cables if we need be. I did cut the top out here to allow the cables to come under down here, and they're managed in on the inside here. 4 holes, 1, 2, 3, 4 to mount it, so we can always remove this if we need to make additional changes. So that's going to be pretty solid. It looks pretty good. Next thing is going to be the top section. Now that is going to be a little bit more complicated. For the base, if you recall, we have to raise it up a bit. So initially I was planning on using this piece of stainless or this piece of aluminium, It's 10 mil and it's flat, and that would have worked perfect. However, I want to increase the height of the front of it. So what we want to do is we want to angle it up a little bit like this, so it feels a bit more realistic. Now, I worked out what I want. I need a pencil's width. So basically, my thoughts are, I have a piece of aluminium somewhere here. The plan is, if we can create our angle with this, like so, we're going to have 12 mil here, and we're going to have 20 mil here. So in 3D, we're going to have something along the lines of this. And then we'll have our mounting holes like this, a couple of ones to mount onto the timber itself, and then our direct drive goes on like so, and we bolt up through the wood and to the aluminium plate. Gives us our angle, gives us our clearance, and that's pretty much it. So let's go do some drawing. And by the power of editing, we have returned with our beautifully CNC'd mounting bracket. So this is going to go on here. We have to mount it onto the timber, and then we've got to drill through these holes into the timber so we can get our screws coming up from the rear and into the underside of the direct drive unit. So without further ado, let's get editing. Okay, mounting complete. So we have our plate on. 2 wood screws were used just to hold it in place while we drilled our holes. These are at an angle, so I couldn't drill them flat. I had to prop it up slightly like this to get the angle correct. There is one slight issue, is that our holes here for the screws are actually in line with the rail on the jig, so just here. So we're going to have to mount the direct drive unit onto this first, like this, and then we'll mount this onto the rig, and we should be ready to rock and roll. These screws I have available, these countersunk stainless screws, they're 50 mil long. They were not long enough to go through the timber and the plate, so what I did was did some rather messy counterboring with an old drill bit I had, and that just gives us enough room there to get the screw to stick out, so we'll be able to get a nice clamp between the timber, the aluminium, into the direct drive unit. So let's go back into the house, get the direct drive unit mounted, then get this put back onto the rig and do some testing. So the rig has been mounted. Pretty stable, really liking it. This is our aluminium spacer, and as you can see, it is raising up and also inducing this little bit of an angle here, which feels a bit nicer. For cable management purposes, I drilled a 25 mil hole here through the wood. This is taking our power, our USB, and our link to the pedals. I didn't realize that these covers are just covers. They actually pop off, so I wasn't aware of that. So this is a bit not doing much, but it's doing something at least. The cables come down here, they then come down the inside of the leg, where they then separate in for the pedals under here. One thing to note is the holes for the pedals. So these ones here I drilled. I made them M8. If you make them M8, you need to be exactly it needs to be perfect because the kit is actually designed with countersunk M6. So there's a bit of play there, about 2 mil around the screw. So if you get off, you know, if you're not bang on in your measurements, you can move it around. Thankfully, I did have it bang on, so that's good. The cables then come down the inside of here, and if I go under like this, there's our power pack and our USB cable. So it looks pretty neat. While I was in the shed, I put another tack on these screws just to tighten them up a bit, because the single tack wasn't doing much. I added these here, so afterwards with my power and USB I can hook them around like so, just to make it a little bit tidier. And I also included a little handle here on the back, so I can lift it up easier. Instead of grabbing this bar here, I can just grab it like this. So cool. And the main thing is going to be this joint here. Can we get under the tables? Let's see. Here. See how's it look. Ta-da! There's actually a good bit more weight in this. That was actually a little bit harder than I thought to push in. Clearance is good, as you can see. This is where I was concerned, and the angle's not helping that. So now, what we need to do, get her set up and do some testing. Right, setup has been completed. A bit trickier to get installed than I anticipated. I'd say I spent about 4 hours between trying to find the drivers for the wheelbase, drivers for the wheel, getting the LEDs to work, getting this funky switch to work correctly in the game. A bit more work is involved, whereas the G29 was simply plug and play. However, massive improvement in terms of the feedback you're getting. I'm almost getting too much, so I spent an awful lot of time messing with the force feedback. I had the wheel itself set to 45%, and in-game we're set to 68%. I got this off the Fanatec forums as to what they recommend for ACC. I also got their Fan Labs kit to get the LEDs working and some of the mapping working. And for the last hour on the Nürburgring, so not on Spa, we took the Nürburgring, but what I'm most impressed with are these vibration settings. So I can set between the wheel, the brake pedal and the throttle vibration for ABS, traction control, understeer, oversteer. And these inputs allow you to react to understeer and oversteer and learn when you're in that zone of on the limit. On the G29, you're relying on a visual input really before you realize you're gone over that limit, whereas you're getting that before with this setup. Brake pedal, fantastic. I currently have it set to 50% in the adjustment, so I'm halfway. That's the closest I can get to the likes of a real car. For the throttle pedal, I did put in the heavier spring that is supplied by Fanatec. Overall, happy. We have our game open here. We're going to go into our setup. Again, pick aggressive, back, back, and then we're going to continue, and we're just going to drive out, do our 3 setup laps and our 10 timed laps. So without further ado, ignition on, engine on, in gear, and let's do some racing. Now the moment everyone has been waiting for. Is it worth €2,000 for this kit? Is it going to make you super fast? I was a bit surprised by this one. Not really. So I gave myself 16 laps because halfway through I had to change the battery in the GoPro, which messed up too. And then I couldn't get back into the rhythm. So as I went on, I was definitely improving. I started off from the 25s, 24s for the first like 5 laps, was awful. But then once I got into it, I was consistently in the low 22s and then dipping into the 21s there. My last 2 laps was like a 21.8 and the last one was a 21.4. So overall, average, we were a half a second lap quicker, and our fastest lap was also half a second quicker. Most of this is coming through the brake pedal. The brake pedal is definitely adding a massive amount of stability into the corners. So I would say at minimum I'm gaining a second on this. One thing I will note is you need to wear shoes, because I've been at this for whatever 12 laps, about 40 minutes. These here are really sharp on your feet. So I'll be wearing shoes from now on with these, because this is actually starting to hurt. It's almost like I've got grit in my sock or something. So pedals are great, but you will need to wear shoes because of these edges. They're not serrated, but they are quite sharp when you're pushing all that force in. The pedal, the wheelbase, yeah, very good, very impressed. Feedback is great. My consistency was what shocked me. Very few mess ups, very few understeer, oversteer moments that I couldn't control, unlike the G29. So I'd say for the endurance races, reliability and consistency, this is going to be way better. Now I know on the G29 I can do like a 219 in race stream with full fuel. So the setup that this aggressive one is not great. So there could be a greater improvement on a proper race setup with this. But for the purposes of testing, we just took the aggressive setup to see how that will work out. I also noticed after about 10 laps is my thumbs were getting very sore from holding and turning this wheel. So I did lower the force feedback by 10%, which I have this one here in the game. So I lowered it down and it did feel, it felt much lighter, easier to control. So I probably will lower it down 10%. Because I can imagine doing 12-hour races, 2-hour shifts, that it's going to get quite painful. So it still feels quite good, plenty of strength. I still haven't quite gelled to it yet. Credit to the G29, it's not a bad wheel. For €200, I honestly cannot complain. I have so many hours done on Spa with that wheel that I pretty much have it as nailed down as I possibly can. What is slowing me on there is definitely the brake pedal, which this is 100% a definite upgrade. Even if you have a G29 wheelbase, get the pedals. The pedals is going to be a day and night difference, which will improve your racing. The direct run wheelbase and the rim is lovely. Massive difference. However, it didn't really get me much faster. So what I mean is I can definitely cut another half second out of this lap once I get used to the force feedback. I'm finding it very difficult with this to get up a rouge because I'm not sure of the force feedback and how much turn in I need to put in a certain sector. So that will improve with time. As I said, I have done no practice on this track with this wheel yet. So good improvement. Overall, is it worth $2,000 or euros? Is it worth €2,000? Yes. In terms of, not for the improvement you're going to get, but the build quality. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see this on the camera, but look at this ABS. Look at the finishing on all this stuff. The anodized aluminium, the steel shaft, the OLED display. Everything is finished so nice. So definitely in terms of the quality of this wheel, fantastic. Even the wheelbase, excellent. The pedals, again, really impressed. As I was saying to you guys earlier, if I squeeze you in here, this is my pedal setting. Don't know if you guys can see this. Focus. For those who have a G29, are looking to upgrade and have some money to burn and are thinking about a direct drive unit, I would say yes, This is a worthy upgrade. The cost was quite high, however the quality is excellent. So based on the quality and based on the 2 hours so far I've had on it, I definitely feel I'm going to be a better racer. I have more feedback, I have better control on the brakes. I'm half a second quicker as is, and I guarantee you if you give me another few hours on this, I can come back and I cut at least a half second off once I learn how the force feedback reacts more, as my muscle memory learns what it needs to do in the corners. We're definitely going to improve, and we're definitely going to be a bit more competitive. All credit to the G29. It's a fantastic wheel for €200. For €2,000, yeah, I'm very happy. I'd also like to give a big thank you to my camera crew, Vivitar and Dusko. Vivitar held the phone for me, and Dusko here has been doing the GoPro shots for you guys. He's been doing the overhead shots. Also, special thank to the piece of 25 by 25mm box out in the shed that did a fantastic job as well. Thank you everyone for your assistance. Thank you all who watched the whole hour of this video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, hit like, leave a comment. I can bring you guys along with other adventures where I'm building stuff, going places. And I hope to see you guys soon. Thank you very much and good night.